Up in Supta Swastikasana. So look at this setup. It's a bolster and then a thick blanket to sit on, just to kind of offset the height of the bolster a little bit, and also to make Swastikasana, to deepen the groins for Swastikasana. And then a third blanket to support the legs. Okay, so here's the situation. You'll be in Swastikasana, seated on top of the bolster, seated on top of the blanket. And then you'll take another blanket to support the legs under the knees, as you would in seated Swastikasana. The knees will be a little bit higher than the hips. You see the angle of the thighs, the knees will be a little bit higher than the hips. Then from here, spread the chest open as you lean back into your hands, come down into your elbows, and then lie down. So here in Supta Swastikasana, the goal is to have kind of a dip in the abdominal pelvic region. So the knees descending into the pelvis, and then from there, kind of a valley, a very quiet, gentle, passive valley, and then climbing back up, but just at a very mild slope up to the chest. So it's Supta Swastikasana, Pranayama Shavasana. I'm coming out to see your setup. Yeah, that's good. So it's just, we're just after a mild slope of the legs, a mild slope of the chest, and then a very quiet valley of the abdomen. The sun is just starting to rise. I'm going to turn off my overhead because the sun's starting to come up. It's still dark, but it will soon be light. No strain in the legs, no strain in the groins. Let's see, Pam, can you pull the blanket in under your thighs a little bit more? Yeah, I don't want to disturb you too much, but get that blanket in a little bit more under your thighs so that, and cross more of the shins. Cross more of the shins, yes. Yeah, okay. So it's like a little bit of a V. A shallow boat. It's a shallow boat. That's right. Good. And then shoulders back, collarbones wide, soft elbows. Give a little extra rotation of the upper arm bone externally, biceps outward, so that you balance on the middle knuckle of the palm. There's also a little dip. Notice there's a little dip in the throat. So the between the chest and the forehead, there's slope downward and then a little pit at the throat. So in pranayama, in Iyengar yoga, we talk about the throat diaphragm. Everybody knows about the thoracic diaphragm. But we also talk about the pelvic diaphragm and the throat diaphragm. So all three of these places where you can think of it as sort of like energy gates, that sort of like manage the energy flow at these diaphragms. So there's the diaphragm that at the bottom of the rib cage. And then the pelvic diaphragm is roughly the pelvic floor. Another way to think of the pelvic diaphragm is the bottom of the peritoneal sac. So if you can picture sort of the sac that that contains all the organs in the trunk, then the bottom of that sac, roughly the level of the pelvic floor, is what we would call the pelvic diaphragm. You're not going to see it in any anatomy book because it's an energetic diaphragm. And then the throat diaphragm is also an energetic diaphragm that you're not going to see in the anatomy book. But right at the pit of the throat, meaning the base of the neck, just at the level of the collarbones, maybe slightly above the collarbones, throat diaphragm, managing the energy flow between the head, neck, and the trunk. The cats definitely want to kind of settle in whenever you're in Shavasana. So let the breath just be very, very soft at this point. Not trying to do anything special with it, but just giving time for your body to settle into this shape. And for the energetic shape, the pranayamic shape of the body to emerge. So the idea is that from the depth and softness of the abdominal pelvic region, the breath can very gently flow. Think of the abdominal pelvic region as the place from which the breath emerges and the place to which the breath returns. So if it's kind of a lake, if the abdominal region is like a lake or a pond, then the current that flows upward into the chest region and then back down into the lake. So each shape we take with our bodies is going to have an impact on the prana, an impact on the breath. Let the breath be so soft. I heard a quote the other day that I thought was so apt. Prashant Iyengar. And he said, for pranayama, you have to charm the breath. You can't force it. You have to create the conditions from which the breath will want to come. And by breath, of course, we're breathing all the time, 24/7. But the pranayamic, gentle, soft, conscious, more intentional breath, we're trying to create the conditions to invite the Ujjayi. So we're not going for the Ujjayi right away. We're just creating the conditions from which the Ujjayi can arise. Once you feel that softness, the release, the shape of the pose, then begin to issue the invitation to the breath. But let it be so soft. Let it be a trickle. So I offered that image of the river that flows from the lake, and then the river that flows back into the lake. Let both rivers flow just at a trickle right now, like a little stream. Not at all ambitious, not at all aggressive. Sun's coming up a little bit earlier each day. So we sort of match up the flow of the prana with the flow of the prana of the earth as the sun rises. So continue that trickle of the breath, the flow, the current. Now, as you inhale, can you assist the movement of the breath by imagining, feeling, sensing all three diaphragms pulling downward to encourage the breath to go up. And then as you exhale, all three diaphragms coming upward, back into the dome shape as you exhale. Make it so soft. Continue in this manner. Sensing the diaphragms. I don't want to say the diaphragms are like dams, because the diaphragms are much more sort of supple and subtle than that. But, you know, they're sort of very mild locks, you could say. Now, finish this breath. And with as little fuss as possible, change the cross of your legs. You might need to sit up to get the blanket in, but if you can avoid it, then just with as little movement as possible, change the cross of your legs, support your legs. And then lie back down. So you'll need to take a little while to settle into this new position, because the different cross of the legs, because we tend to favor one side or another, it might feel quite different. You might feel a little tilt in the pelvis. You might feel a little catch in the groin. There might be a different effect on your sacrum and your back. So take a little time to settle the body into this position. And to get as even and level as possible here. And then once your body has become accustomed to this new shape, same but different as before, then you can start to begin cultivating the Ujjayi very gently, very softly. With the awareness of the three diaphragms. If you can picture the three diaphragms in like a string in the center of each. Then it's a feeling that if you very gently tug on that string, then the lungs, the prana flows in. And as you release that string, the breath, the prana empty out. So the diaphragms are helping to manage the current, the flow of the prana. Be here for 2 more minutes. From the quietness, the depth, the softness, the valley of the pelvis and lower abdomen. The current flowing to and from the lake of the lower abdomen. Finish this round. Finish this breath. Return to normal breathing. And bring your knees together. Roll to your side. Rest here for a couple of breaths. And sit up. All right. So we'll do a few minutes of seated pranayama. So let's see. I suggest that you cross your legs the second way, because we didn't spend as much time on the second cross as the first cross. So you were in the first cross for quite a while. The second cross is shorter time because we only had half an hour. So I would say, however you had your legs the second time around, repeat that. And then get your support. Blanket under the knees. Sitting up on enough height so that you can really feel the tallness of the trunk, the tallness of the spine. And then supporting the thighs. The blanket for the under the knees serves a couple of purposes. One is to kind of level the knees and support them since you're sitting up high, but also to give the knees like a little something to press gently into. So that slight pressure of the knees into the blankets creates a greater lift in the spine. Maybe you'll notice. All right, so we're going to do a series of Ujjayi seated with the awareness of the 3 diaphragms. And now you're in a different shape, asana shape, but can you maintain that consciousness of the lower abdominal pelvic region as the lake from which the current of the breath leaves and returns? Okay, and let the breath be very soft. So I'll talk you through it. Rolling the upper arm bones out, turn your palms up to the ceiling, spread across the collarbones. For a moment, just press the hands, the back of the hands, into the blanket in order to get the maximum lift of the chest. And then soften the effort of the hands and arms and just let the weight of the hands be into the blanket without any pressure, without any added pressure. And then bow your head down. Jaladharabandha. I'm keeping my head up so I can watch you. Observe the breath. Before you do anything with it, just observe the breath for a few cycles. And then now begin to do some Ujjayis, feeling the pelvic diaphragm move down, the thoracic diaphragm move down. And even as the throat diaphragm moves down, feel the very top of the chest fill. Let the breath be very soft and gentle, and then exhaling it as gently as you inhale. And continue in this manner. So a little tug of the diaphragms downward, and the prana that is pooled in that abdominal region, then you feel it rising as the breath travels up, and then gently returning it back to its source. See that you're giving yourself adequate support through the size of the chest, through the tallness of the spine, through the shoulder blades descending, the wideness of the back ribs, lift of the sternum, all that stuff to create the stable vessel for the movement of the prana. See that the hands stay soft throughout. Continue in this manner with the slow, soft inhales and slow, soft exhales. The movement of the diaphragm, the softness of the abdominal region, the tallness through the throat. Don't be ambitious with the breath. Let it be a very gentle, managed flow up and down. So we didn't do anything fancy with the breath today. Just working on that gentleness. observing the source of the breath, and observing the diaphragms that manage the flow of the prana. Of course, the frame that holds the prana needs to be firm, and so we've discussed that many weeks. So don't lose the frame. Just because the breath is soft, don't let the frame collapse. The frame has to be firm in order to maintain the soft, even flow of the prana. So finish this cycle. Return to normal breathing when you're done. And when you're done, turn your palms over and bring your chin up with your eyes closed. Okay, straighten your legs. And then you'll lie down for a few minutes. You'll lie down as long as you want, really. So when you come into Shavasana, can you carry over that awareness of the soft abdomen, the awareness of the three diaphragms, and now completely passive with the breath. Don't do anything special. Just let the breath be your natural resting breath. But so soft that you can barely feel it moving through your nostrils. So soft that it doesn't disturb the carpet of nostrils. Allow the face, jaw, throat to be completely soft. Descend the earlobes to the floor. Widen across the forehead. And I'm going to end our time today, but you can stay and come out whenever you wish. So have a wonderful day, and thank you for coming, and I'll see you later.